What's happening, everybody? Hope everybody is having an amazing Monday. Here we are. We're in August already. Can you believe it? That August is already here. The summer is almost over. Kids are almost ready to go back to school. I think we have like 2.5 weeks left here in Ordie County till the kids go back to school. And it just seems like yesterday they were getting out of school for the year. But welcome, everybody, tonight. Welcome to the show. We're going to have an amazing time tonight. I've got an awesome guest who I'm going to bring on here in just a few minutes. And we're going to talk about things you need to really know when you're moving to South Carolina. My guest this evening is a friend of mine that I met a few years back. She is a RE/MAX agent down in Charleston, South Carolina, just about an hour and a half to 2 hours south of me. Her name is Elizabeth Baker, and I'll have her tell you a little bit more about herself and how she got to South Carolina, and we'll talk about this a little bit more as we get going tonight. But as you're joining in tonight, leave a comment, tell us where you're joining in from, and if you have questions tonight while we're talking about anything, listen, we're moving outside of just Myrtle Beach. If you want to know about things to do in Charleston, in that area, she is the person to talk to about that as well. So with that being said, let me unmute her here and bring her out of the green room. What's happening, Elizabeth? How are you this evening?
Hi, Jeremy. I'm great, and I'm glad to be here with you.
Awesome. So, Elizabeth, let's start out. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Give us your 30-second to a minute speech of who you are and where you live.
All right. So, born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. Left for the Marine Corps at age 19. Got out, did a variety of things in a law enforcement capacity, and then wound up in real estate in Charleston. I moved to Charleston in June of 2015, and then I got my license in December of 2015, and I started January of 2016.
Okay, so you've been selling there now for, was that about 5 years or so, I would say? Yeah. And I've watched some of your story over the last few years, how you've just been tearing up the real estate market there in Charleston. And you do some special things for people that are selling. What do you do that kind of sets you apart from others?
So I stage all of my listings for free for my sellers. I do it myself. And that comes from when I was back in St. Louis, all I could afford back then was like a really cheap house. And I would doctor it up with just some, pretty things. And then 2 years later, sell it for a great profit. And I was not in real estate at all. I had no interest in it. But I would go through these houses and be like, the only reason this isn't selling is because it's not staged properly. So I kind of carried that with me to Charleston. And when I got into real estate, my first listing, I just transformed it. They had been on the market for 6 months or so, I think, before I came on the scene. I staged it. I increased the price, and they got multiple offers in 4 days. And the rest is history. So one by one.
Yeah, and I wanted to share a picture here. Let me pull this up here
Lord.
on the screen.
My staging dogs.
You have some puppies, huh?
I do, and I put dogs in almost all of my listings.
Okay, why do you put dogs in the list? I got to know, why do the dogs go in the listings?
In general, most people do like dogs. I don't put like the bigger breeds necessarily. I don't want people to worry that there's like an odor issue or anything like that. But a lot of people like dogs, and it gets the listings more likes, more shares, and the more your listing gets shared, especially when it was a slower market, the better it is for your sellers, right? So if there's the front picture has like the one that you can see small in the image that you have on the screen with that litter of puppies just that happened to line up perfectly on the steps. I made that my main picture for that listing, and it got shared like crazy. And they had been on the market before me with another agent, and they needed staging so desperately. So adding the staging plus the unique marketing plus video, as you're a big fan of, and I know you know a lot about video, it all works together.
Oh, no, I don't need a puppy. I don't need a puppy right now. My wife's been on me for the last little bit wanting to, we have our dog is turning 15 soon, and she's like, oh, we should get a puppy. And I'm like, no, not right now. I don't want to restart this right now. Yes, let's just enjoy the one we have, and we'll go from there. We've got some people I see starting to join in. We've got actually our first comment. Debbie's coming in. She says, "Hi, Jeremy. I finally got to see you live from the beginning from New York, 45 minutes north of New York City." Welcome, Debbie. Thanks for joining in tonight. We have an awesome guest, and I don't know if you guys, if you're jumping on tonight, if you've never visited Charleston before, it's about an hour and a half drive from where I live to get down there, and it has some of the coolest, most awesome history that you can ever find down through there. And I personally love to just go to historic downtown and walk around through everything. One of the most fun things my wife and I ever did, I believe it was our 3rd or 4th anniversary. We had friends who had a condo down on King Street and above one of the shops, and we got to go stay there. And then we parked the car and walked the whole city for days, and it was so much fun. So awesome. Well, let's go back here a minute. I'm gonna get into a little bit of our topic for tonight. And guys, as we start talking a little bit about buying a home right now and what you really need to know, here's what I want to say to kind of start. Buying a house here in South Carolina, first and foremost, is not the same as buying in other parts of the country. There's some things that are done very differently, and depending on the type of property you're looking to buy, the type of financing you can get is very different too. Right before we jumped on this, I had someone reach out who said, "Hey, I want to buy a property down there that I can use a couple weeks of the year and rent it the rest of the time. I'm a mortgage person. I have no problem getting a loan." And I started to explain to them, but when it goes to something that allows short-term rentals here in my market, it's a very different type of financing that you get. But the whole process of just coming to South Carolina can be very different. Elizabeth, did you notice anything weird or strange when you made the move from St. Louis to Charleston area?
Not at first, but to keep in mind, I wasn't in real estate yet. So our price points here, though, yes, are a ton higher than where I'm from in Missouri. So in Missouri, at the time, $250,000 to $300,000 got you a big house and a good school zone with a finished basement. So I went from like 3,000 total square feet or more to like 1,200 square feet for a lot more money. But it's worth it, because you can be outside enjoying it the majority of the year instead of, as you know, I'm sure you're getting as many people from, the North and the Midwest. They're sick of the snow. They're sick of being stuck inside for so much of the year. So you can enjoy it outside. So I think it's worth the trade-off.
Yeah, well, and one of the things that I deal with a lot here is people don't understand or realize that South Carolina is an attorney closing state and that other parts of the country are not.
Right.
I'm working right now with a lady. She is a broker, real estate agent in New Jersey who's buying an investment property here. And so she said, so once I submit my offer, we then have a couple days to negotiate this some more and do this, right? And I went, Our offers, when everyone signs off as a ratified contract, it's done. We send that then over to the attorney. If they begin the title search, they do everything right there. It doesn't go to a title company and you have more days to negotiate and think it through. We do a contract here. And once it's signed by everyone, it's pretty much done deal for the most part. And so that's probably one of the biggest things that I would say first people need to understand. The next thing then is, so well, what about, do you have like that 3-day right of rescission thing once we have the offer done? No, that doesn't happen either. Have you ever run into any of those kinds of crazy things?
No, I mean, I will say that some states, as you know, like with New York, right? Like apparently they can continue to take offers once they have a ratified offer, which completely baffles me how that works. So I'll have people coming from New York and not really getting that that's not how it works here. Some states like North Carolina that automatically have a diligence period. Like there are no offers being accepted in my market at all if you're asking for diligence. Like it's either repair procedure, which means as long as the major systems are operable, they're not doing any repairs hardly. And they don't have to contractually, or it's as is. You're not seeing any diligence hardly at all being accepted right now.
Yeah, and that's very true. That's another big difference. Is what's funny is the house that she's purchasing. I helped the sellers buy last year, and the seller of it was a North Carolina broker. And so she said, "Well, I'm used to due diligence. I want to do due diligence." I said, "Okay, we can try it." But here's the thing: even North Carolina due diligence versus South Carolina is very different in how they act and work as well. And so she was trying to buy here using the mentality of North Carolina due diligence, which isn't the same here. But you mentioned New York. New York is definitely very, very different. I had someone, I helped them sell a property up there in a co-op. I didn't even know what the heck a co-op was. It took me a while of figuring this out. But basically, there's a board there that you take your property, you put it on the market, you get it under contract, and then the board has to approve the new owner and allow them to join, basically kind of like almost like felt like a country club type of thing, and approve them to be able to live there in the property and do it. And so when the agent reached out and said, "Hey, wanted to let you know I put it under contract," I said, "Okay, great. When are you expecting to close?" And she said, "I don't know, hopefully in the next 90 days or three to 4 months." And I'm like, "What?" She said, "Well, the person has to get approved by the board." I said, "How long does that take?" "We don't know." So, there's very different things that happen here in South Carolina, and at least here in Horry County. And if yours is different, chime in here. But like you said, a lot of repair procedure, which covers the 5 main components of your house: the structure, the heating and cooling, the plumbing, the electrical, and the appliances. As long as those 5 things are in good working order, you have a certain amount of time to do it, a certain amount of time to give the list of repairs that you want. They have a certain time to respond back, and then there's a certain time to get it done. And as long as all of those things are met on the timeline, we're good to go and go to closing. Here in our area, right now, average closing time is about 45 days, whether that's cash or if it's financing. What are you seeing down that way right now?
We're seeing a lot of, it depends, because a lot of the sellers, of course, they're trying to also find something. So their preferred offer, if they occupy the home, might be a longer closing or to lease back, of course. But in general, the sellers want to get out while, the getting is good. So they're more looking at these like 20 to 30-day closings. We don't see a lot of going over into the 45 to 60 anymore. In fact, it's like if we get an offer like that, it's usually countered pretty quickly. And if they're working with like a big bank or somebody who is automatically saying, "Hey, it's going to be at least 45 days, then they either need to switch lenders or the offer's not going to fly.
Yeah, it's interesting because what I've run into here and what I've actually used as the tip to help my buyers win a lot of times is saying, "Hey, we'll give you that longer closing date," because a lot of people who are selling have to buy and they can't find it. So they're needing 45, 60, 90 days, some of them, to close. Or like one I just closed a week and a half ago now. They closed in 30 or 40 days like a normal closing would be, but then they turned around and they rented the house back to the owners at an extremely reduced rate. So it's a gorgeous home that they're buying. It's like a $660,000 home, but they're letting the sellers rent the home back from them at $2,400 a month when it could probably rent for well north of $3,000. But because we gave that reduced lease back, they were able to get it for get their offer accepted, which some of the other ones were not doing that and wanted much more. So that set us apart. Let's see. Debbie says, "I would love to visit Charleston, but I think it is too expensive to live there." Elizabeth, is it too expensive to live in Charleston in the southern areas?
It can be if you go outside of Charleston County into Dorchester County and Berkeley County. Some of the price points are the same all across the board, but the further out, of course, from downtown and beaches that you go, the more of a chance that you have of finding something affordable. But no longer are we seeing very many single-family detached homes that are desirable in desirable areas for under 300. I mean, honestly, even $400,000 in certain areas isn't going to give you much of a shot. There's too many multiple offers on the same homes. And so it is difficult to find something in what we would normally have considered an affordable budget, which would be that under, $250,000 to $300,000 single family detached home. It's harder to find for sure.
Yeah, and I've noticed too, the same is kind of true here, where that quote affordable price point now is more that 350 to 4 range. So let me ask you this: if I wanted to move to your area and wanted to spend 350 to 400,000, and I needed 4 bedrooms in at least 2,000 square feet, what kind of price is that something I could find, and how close to like downtown Charleston could I get? Am I 25, 30 minutes away or an hour?
You're
even a possibility?
45 to an hour if it's under 400 and 4 bedrooms. If it's 4 true bedrooms, especially with that square footage, you'll often find like maybe a smaller ranch with a frog finished room over garage, right? The Southern thing. They don't call it that anywhere else, but South Carolina, I'm pretty sure. I've never heard anybody else use frog. But you'll find like a smaller, maybe like a 16, 17, 1800 square foot thing like that with a bonus flex space for maybe under 400. But you're looking for that budget, you're going a lot further out from downtown or beaches for sure. That's the draw of Charleston, of course, is people want to be closer to either downtown or the beaches or both.
And I know one of the areas that's becoming a little more popular these days is the Somerville area. How close is that to like downtown Charleston?
Depends what part of Somerville. Some of it you can get to in 20, 25 minutes, depending on the traffic. I realistically tell people to expect 45 minutes. But again, there's the close part, right? Like the downtown Somerville. And then there's the further outskirts, like when you get to almost, Ridgeville or whatever. So it can be every bit of, like I'm on Folly Beach right now. So it can be every bit of an hour depending on the traffic situation. But I still sell a lot in Somerville, and it is more desirable to especially my fellow veterans because they want to be close to the base often, and they might have families and they just can't afford the amount of bedrooms they need and the space they need and in anywhere closer. So they go out to Somerville because you can get a lot more bang for your buck when you get there or further out.
Sure. Interesting. As I share it here in my area, I put it this way: I say the closer you get to the big blue thing known as the ocean, the more expensive your price is going to be. But like, I live in an area called Carolina Forest. I bought my home 2 years ago and I paid $215,000. Now prices have gone up. In fact, let me pull up that graphic here in a minute. Debbie says hello, Elizabeth, by the way.
Hi.
But let me pull up this graphic here a minute and show this first. Let's go back here. Share this. So if we look at this graphic, it talks about just your equity can take you places and how is the equity across the country. And you'll see when you look here at the South Carolina area, average in just the last year, people averaged at least $22,000 in equity. Now, I think that number is so small for our area because I think it's taken the upstate part, which, and some of the outskirts out in the middle of nowhere parts that didn't have a lot of appreciation. But I know here at the beach, my home I bought for $215,000 in January, and I could turn around and sell that house today for probably $305,000. So, what is that? $80,000-$90,000 in a year and a half's time. Not too bad. What about your area? What kind of appreciation have you seen over the last 12 to 15 months?
It's usually well over $100,000. Usually, I mean, here we're looking at 6 figures in equity very quickly, especially if they bought like a new construction in a neighborhood that's finished out and it has good amenities or good views or something. I have people who had one that they had purchased for like $800,000 or $900,000, and I sold it for $1.5 million back, about not even a year ago. It was somewhere in the latter half of last year. Wow. And it's just nuts. And my house on the beach, I'm not in my house right now. I'm staying at a condo down the street because mine's on vacation rental. But my house down the street I bought for $775 in 2018, end of 2018, so all like December. It needed a lot of work, but I didn't put that much in, and I could definitely get over $2 million right now for my house. So, and I'm seeing that more and more in my sellers, and that's why they're doing equity cash outs as long as they have somewhere else to go, because it's not smart, as we talked about earlier, to rent right now. That is not the economical choice in these markets to rent.
Yeah, it's not. We were talking about that before we jumped on here, and we're going to get into that in a minute. For sure, the renting thing. But I wanted to show some other things here and kind of go over this. This is a graphic that came out by Keeping Current Matters, which is a national publication. They send information out to real estate agents, and I thought this was very poignant and had some good points to it. Home buyers, hang in there. Right now we have a lot of people who are trying to buy, and knock on wood. I don't really have any wood here to knock on, but I've had pretty good success in 2021 getting my buyers' offers accepted on properties. I've only lost a few, and most of the time I have won. So there is good success you can have. I know some people I've talked to that are working with other people. I've tried to buy Jeremy 5-6 times. Here's the reality, number one, of what I would say to anyone who's looking to buy right now. If you're looking for a deal and a steal, you're in the wrong market. You need to wait about 3 years till you can start to find those again. They're not going to be out there. But here's the thing. Buying a house, the long-term benefits outweigh the short-term benefits. Going back a minute to this graphic we just went over, if you bought a house at the beginning of 2020 to now, you'd have at least $22,000 to $25,000 at least here in Horry County, and down in your area, probably more like 40 to 50 at least of equity built in your home right now. You could turn around and sell it today and make all that money. The problem that you're going to run into is, where do you go? You can't find anything. And right now, anything you make, you're going to turn around and have to spend as well. So, that's number one, is the long-term benefits of owning the wealth is definitely worth it. The second thing on here that I wanted to talk about is today's low interest rates will not last forever. I bought my house that I own right now in 2019, and I was excited when I got my interest rate of 4.75. You mentioned owning houses back in Missouri, and you said you moved in 2015. So I'm guessing some of those you probably had interest rates in the 7 to 8s, and you were probably like, "This is awesome to have interest rates like that."
Right.
Nowadays, I'm in the process right now of refinancing my home, and my interest rate is 2.875. I'm able to also drop off primary mortgage insurance, or PMI, and so my payment's going to drop $370 a month for it. So if you have a house right now and you have all this equity, you want to go ahead and think about doing that refinance if you haven't. However, here's the other part, Elizabeth. I don't know if you've talked to people like, well, should I sell my house? Should I refinance it? Should I not? Here's the thing I've been saying to people. If you're thinking about selling your home in the next 2 years, don't waste the money doing a refinance right now, because the fees that you're going to accrue in closing costs are going to be eaten up and then some by what you save on the mortgage. But if you're planning to keep the house for a longer period of time, definitely reach out to a lender and get that in place. Would you agree?
Yeah, for the most part, it depends. It depends on the program, your situation, what the size of the loan. There's all of those things, and it depends on the lender, obviously. I just refied both of my properties, my primary residence and my investment property. And I ended up going ahead and doing the 15-year option on the lower cost one, the one I don't live in. And which, of course, then increases my payment, but it's paying it off that much faster because it's now affordable to do that, right, because of the rates.
Yeah. And what my wife and I discussed today and decided we're going to do when we finish our refi is we're just going to continue to we can easily make payments at what it's at now. So we're just going to continue to make those payments as if it was still that amount. It's just we're putting $350 each month towards principal, which is probably, going to cut down the life of that loan by, I'm guessing, 7 to 10 years easily over time, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
The next thing on this graphic, and let's go back here and pull this back up on the screen. And guys, while you're listening in, if you have questions tonight about buying in the area, if you want to know about Charleston, you want to know about stuff in Myrtle Beach, feel free to ask those questions as well. But number 3 on this list tonight says, experts agree home prices are forecast to rise. Prices are expected to appreciate by 8.66% in 2021. So let's just bring out the old calculator here a minute. And let's say you said your average, in like Somerville's probably 450, would you say? For a simple house?
You can get a decent house there at 400,000.
Okay, so we'll say 400,000. And then we're going to take that times 0.866%. That's going to add $34,000 basically of income to your house just this year. That's huge. That is a huge, huge amount of money that you don't want to waste.
Right.
So let's see. Debbie said she bought her house originally in 2010, and she got a 30-year at 5.25. Yep, and Debbie, I bet when you got that 5.25, you were excited to get that. I wasn't old enough to buy houses back then, but my dad used to share with me about the 80s when interest rates were 13 to 15% for some of them. And then the last one on here is kind of interesting. And Elizabeth, I'll let you kind of talk on this one a minute. Home ownership improves the quality of life. Owning a home is part of the American dream and is linked to both personal and economic benefits. Would you agree with that? You think that's true?
I mean, yeah, but it's for a variety of reasons. Like, I think that there is the pride in ownership, of course. That's yours. You're not just making someone else rich by paying rent. But just not worrying, like, when are these people possibly going to decide to sell the house? Or, you don't control your future if you're renting. And I see this happen to people so often. And I tell people, if you absolutely have to rent, make sure you get it in your rental agreement that you're not dealing with it going on the market in 6 months, because now you're expected to be moving again and then going through showings and all of that stuff. And yes, tenants' rights, right? But that's only for during that first lease period of time. They can pop it on the market. And I've seen it happen to so many people, and they get so frustrated, and, they have children and all these things. So being able to build your own equity in your own home and do what you want to it, and it's yours. I mean, I think that there was a lot to be said about that.
Yeah, I'm actually in the process right now of selling a home that these people have lived in for the last 15 months. They had a year-long lease. After the lease was up, they went month to month. Well, the seller has decided in this strong market they want to sell it and cash out. And I can't blame them. I would do the same thing. But what it has done is, number one, we put that house on the market. They had to be there for all the showings. And they went nuts and screamed and yelled at me the first weekend it went on, because I had 17 showings on the first Saturday. I put it on a Friday, and the next day I had 17 showings. And they were livid because they had to be home all the time and they couldn't work and they couldn't do this. Well, we ended up accepting an offer from that on the next week, and we're closing on August 15th. They reached out to me and said, do you think the new owner would like to rent the house to us and let us stay put? And I had to tell them, I'm sorry, the person who's buying it, he's a veteran. He's doing a VA loan. He has to take residency in the house. It's going to be his property he's going to live in. Sorry, you have to move out and find something. And the house that they were in, it was nothing special. And they were paying, I think, $1,300, $1,400 a month. The guy who's buying it is going to have a mortgage at probably $1,000 to $1,100 a month. So that's just another thing. When you rent, you waste money. Before we bought our house, I did the calculations for renting. And so a lot of people know my backstory, but for those who don't, back in 2005, 2006, when real estate was really good and I was making bank with my father, we bought investment properties, and then the market crashed and I lost all of those properties. And so I was forced into foreclosure. lost everything I had to rent for about 10-year period. During that 10 years of renting, I had added up that my rent was well north of $116,000. And what did I have to show at the end of it for wealth? Nothing. Versus when you own that home, you're building wealth every time you make a mortgage payment. Every month as the market increases, you're making wealth. Not to mention, like you said a few minutes ago, you can customize it and do what you want. When we moved into our house and we told our kids they could paint their rooms and that we'll be able to paint them whatever color they want, they couldn't believe it. Like, what? We don't have to live with whatever color's on the wall? No, we're allowed to. We can do whatever we want to this house. And so, it's a huge benefit, definitely, to own. So let's see. We got some people here that jumped in. Let's see some other comments here. Debbie said, a year later, I refinanced the 15-year at 2.5. Yep. Trees on the beach. What's happening? Is it Trent, maybe, I think? There's nothing like owning your home. Well worth the fees and the hassle, in my opinion. Agreed. Debbie then said, I did own a home with my husband in 1981 at 15%. Oh. Yeah. I won't say how old I was at that time. I'm moving there in 2 weeks. Taz, good luck. Hope the move goes smooth and easy for you. Hope you enjoy living here in Myrtle Beach. It's definitely a great place to be. I'm renting an older house in Myrtle Beach for $1,500 a month. Yeah. The house next door, to give you an idea of the difference between owning and renting, I'm going to be very transparent. My mortgage right now is $1,400 for a four-bedroom, 3-bath house, about 2,000 square feet. The house next door to me is rented. It's a 4-bedroom house, 1,900 square feet, and it's renting for $1,900 a month. Who do you think's making out better here?
And it's worse here, by the way, just so you guys know. It's way worse here.
Oh, I'm sure.
You don't get, for $1,400, you get a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom piece of crap apartment, and then you still have to pay like $200 a month pet rent, rental insurance. So by the time anybody is said and done for a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment, they're at least $1,900. So for a house, forget about it. $3,000 for anything decent. And their mortgage is half that. That's what I try to tell people. Like, even if it's not your ideal dream house, do you want to throw all that money away?
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing I would say, because I know somebody who's watching right now is probably thinking, well, I can't afford to buy a house right now. I'm in a financial position where I can't do it. I get it. I was there. When I bought my house that we're in right now, I had cleaned my old house, was going through stuff, and I found where my credit score from the foreclosures and all was down in the 500s. And I had to work hard, and it was a long, hard process to rebuild my credit up to where it was that we could purchase again a home here. And so I get that sometimes you don't get that option. But what I would suggest to anyone is figure out a way to get to the point of buying, because it definitely is a much better solution, in my opinion, for sure. So some people that are probably thinking about moving here, and I bet you, Elizabeth, you've heard this as well in your area the last few weeks and months, is I give up. I'm not buying right now. It's too difficult. It's too hard. I don't want to try to buy it. I'm going to just either rent a place or I'm going to stay put where I am for now. I'm not doing this for a couple months. Have you heard that from anyone?
Yes, and unfortunately in our market, it ends up often the best thing for them. And I have to just be honest with my clients. I set the expectations up front. What is your budget? When they start coming at me with, we have to have 4 bedrooms and we have to have a 2-car garage and we have to be in a top school. And then they throw at me, but our budget's $300. I'm like, everybody's budget's $300. So you basically need to be looking at stuff that's $275. Be willing to go over, up to $300 or over. Plus, the sellers here are looking for that appraisal waiver or the gap coverage between the appraisal price and the purchase price. And if you haven't saved any cash, it is really competitive here. It's a lot worse than a lot of markets.
Yeah, your market definitely is probably a little bit more difficult to try to buy right now than here, just because of the price point. That's going to weed out a lot of people, unfortunately for it. But there's a lot of things that Charleston has, the history and all that we do not have here. Your airport might be a little bit larger than Myrtle Beach. However, I think we're slowly starting to grow ours a little bit to catch up. But I deal with a lot of people who are saying, well, I just in this competitive market right now, I don't want to fight for highest and best and have to do all that stuff. It's not worth it to me. I'm just going to stay put here in New York. And that's fine. If you want to stay put in New York and New Jersey and Pennsylvania, that's fine. Go through the snow another year, then come back again next year and try to buy here again. But your prices are not slowing down. I don't see anything showing them going down or in a negative or even just plateauing anytime soon. And, a lot of people I've spoken to, and you're connected really well across the country with agents. A lot of agents have said, oh, well, we're starting to see a slowdown in the market, and our market's starting to slow down. My feelings, let me get your opinion on that first. Do you think the market is slowing down? Do you think we're starting to plateau? What are you seeing down in your market these days?
Not at all. Us local Charleston agents who all talk to each other, we talk about how it's ironic that you maybe first started talking to some sellers, let's say 6 months ago, right? And at that time you said, okay, I could sell your house right now for $500,000. Then you talk to them 2 months later and you're like $525. 2 months later, you're like $550. And this is legit how it is here. And then I had people that when I first started talking to them about selling, it was $525. We ended up getting them $575. And comps would have said probably not even 500, maybe 525, pushing it. But it's just, there's no inventory, especially in the popular areas. And every month the comps just keep getting reset and keep getting reset. So will it plateau at some point? Probably. I know at the RPAC conference, the predictor for NAR came and he said he doesn't see anything slowing down for a couple of years at least. And even then with, and this is somebody who's paid as the job to predict this type of stuff, he doesn't see any major changes happening. So whereas we all kind of braced ourselves after that initial insanity and thought, okay, it's got to drop out, right? Even us realtors, we said it's got to drop out at some point. We were all proven wrong. It just keeps going up and up and up. And it's so.
Yeah. Are you seeing when you list a property right now, are they taking longer to sell? Are you still getting the same amount of activity and multiple offers happening on a regular basis? Or have you started to see that slow down? Because I know when I talk to some people, I've got good friends in California, some in, like Seattle, Washington, and those areas. And, Seattle, their market was probably one of the craziest at one point where they were seeing 35, 40 offers on a home, which is just nuts to me to even have to, and just a nightmare to even try to process, where now they're only seeing maybe 4 to 6, but they're still seeing 4 to 6 offers on a home. What kind of activity are you seeing when you list something?
Same thing. I price them. I don't want to disappoint 20 agents and 20 buyers. So I price it to where it's already at the really pushing the peak way over comps so that we only get like 3 or 4 offers instead of that philosophy of let's price it below so we get 20 in insanity. I just think that creates a lot more disappointment, a lot more frustration. These buyers agents are running around, like chickens with their heads cut off. And it's just easier to just set the expectations high. And if there was ever a market, right, to test the waters, this would be the market as a seller to go ahead and try it higher.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. That same article that I was sharing with some graphics, from KCM or Keeping Current Matters stated, experts agree options are improving for buyers. It looks like existing inventory is starting to inch up, which is good news for a housing market parched for more supply. From the deputy chief economist at First American, they said that. I don't know about yours. I haven't seen more inventory show up. Then another quote they shared: the influx of new sellers over the last couple of months has helped slow the price gains and given buyers hope that we will be able to find a home that is a good fit. And then the final one: as the inventory is beginning to pick up ever so modestly, we are still facing a housing shortage, but we may have turned a corner. And that's the gentleman I think that you were referring to, Lawrence Yun, quote from him.
And yes, in some markets, I agree. In our market, we're not seeing it. At least I'm not seeing it at all. Multiple offers the second it goes on the market, even priced well over comps.
Yeah. And here's the thing that I've been sharing lately. I don't know about you, but I have noticed looking in my Facebook the last month or so, everyone is going on vacation. Everyone. It's like, the world's finally opened up enough that we can take a vacation again. And since we didn't get to do one last year, we're going to make up for it this year. And everybody's going on vacation. Most everyone in my office I've seen and spoken to in the last 4 weeks has gone on some sort of vacation at some point in the last month and a half. I think a lot of it is just right now people are not as focused in. And I think, the next 2-3 weeks, it's going to be a little slower as well because what's happening? People are going back to school.
Yep, it always slows down.
It always slows down during this time.
Right.
I've got 3 kids to get in school. You've got 2.
Yep.
Never in my mind would I ever think about buying a house right now at this time of year with school getting ready to start and everything with that. That's just like the worst time in the world for me as a parent to do such a thing. Not to mention, if I'm planning my trip and going out of town, I don't want to have to be negotiating on a house I'm buying while I'm away on vacation. So I'm going to put everything on pause. But I think that we're going to see, as we come into this fall here, an extremely strong fall market. I've already written more business for the fall this year than I did for all of last fall. And last fall was probably the best season I have had in 7 years, I would say. I mean, it's insane how much it has been. A lot of chat's been happening over here while we've been talking. Let me go back here a minute and so Taz says both renting and owning is expensive. CC, Cindy. Hey, Cindy, you're coming this week. I'm ready. We're going to meet up. I think it's Thursday. Yeah, but she says, we're looking forward to visiting this week and exploring communities to move to soon. Can't wait to meet you. I can't wait to meet you too. We're going to have fun. Debbie says, by the way, I have a two family in a tenant place. Not a dumb idea to do. If you can find a duplex, live in one half, have somebody else pay on the other, they can basically cover. Yep, 2 family, tenant pays my mortgage. Smart. Debbie says, question. She has a question. Oh, we're going to get to that in a minute. All right, let's see here. Going from a 1-bedroom in Manhattan to a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2.5-car garage later this year in Carolina Forest. Yep, that's what people are doing. Even you mentioned, Elizabeth, about how Charleston is so much more expensive in comparison to places like New York and New Jersey. It's much less. And the one thing that's true no matter whether you're in Charleston or here is this: your taxes are going to be so much less. I have people right now that are getting ready to move here from Pittsburgh. They were paying over $600 a month in their mortgage payment just for the taxes of it. So when I told them, I said, you realize that for that $600, that's about another $50,000 to $100,000 of mortgage you can afford just because your expenses of taxes is gone. I mean, what's the average? Taxes down there aren't really that much more than here in Horry County. I'm sure. If I have a $300,000 as a primary residence, what am I looking at a month for taxes on that?
It's like nothing in comparison. So I sat down when the reality really hit me. I sat down. I sell to a lot of NYPD people. And I sat down with some friends, and we were at the closing table, and they looked at the thing, and they looked at the attorney, and they looked back at the closing disclosure, and they said, "Is this right? The taxes are only $3,500. Is this right?" And they're looking, and they said, "We were paying $30,000 in taxes on our house, in New York, and they were like having a freaking party right here at the table. This was the first time that they realized, and I had no idea like what they were paying before. And I was like, wow, imagine that. Just imagine saving over $30,000 annually in taxes by moving to South Carolina. No wonder so many people, are coming from the north.
Yeah, I had a gentleman, he and his wife moved down here from Rhode Island, and they had a 1968 house that was 1,100 square feet. And between that, their mortgage payment and their taxes, they moved down here and exchanged, basically kept the payments that were within $37 of each other, but bought a 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath, 3,000 square foot brand new home and dropped their payments by $37 a month. Yeah, the taxes alone here makes such a huge difference. When I talk to people like you from New York, I usually say, how much you pay in a month? And when they tell me that number, it's like, yeah, that's what you're going to pay here for the whole year. And they're like, what?
I know.
I can't believe it.
The sheer shock is wonderful.
Yeah. So let's see. We got some more questions coming in here. It's awesome. Debbie says, how do you buy one house in another state when you have to sell in order to buy the house? You deal with this a bunch. I'm going to let you answer it first. Have at it.
This is a common problem, and unfortunately in my market, I can't speak for the Myrtle Beach market. I'll let Jeremy answer that. You're not seeing sellers accept home sale contingencies here because they're getting multiple offers, and of those, let's just say one's conventional, one's cash, one is whatever it is. It doesn't matter, but it has a home sale contingency. Unless there's something so absolutely amazing with that offer, like $10,000 non-refundable earnest money. We are committed to this process, and we're going to do this, this, and this. We're going to waive, all inspections, all appraisal. It's still, even that being said, if it's contingent upon the sale of another house, it is just too big of a risk for a seller. So you have to get creative. You either find a renter for your current house, you close your current house and get a lease back, which is what I'm seeing the most often. Because if you're coming from a popular market as well, because there's so many New Yorkers moving here, there's plenty of people that want to take their houses. So they are getting lease backs, rent backs, and so that they're completely closed. And now they're in a prime position to get the house they want and not have to be rejected over and over again, because that home sale contingency, even if you're past inspections and past appraisal and you only have 2 weeks until closing, it's just too risky because anything can happen, and we've all seen it happen in this industry. And I've been the seller as well in the situation where it's like, I'm sorry, but not taking that risk with the home sale contingency, especially in a market like this fast moving.
Yeah, and here's what I've been sharing with people for here in the Horry County market. It's not impossible to get your offer accepted, but it's not easy either. You guys, if we kind of think about the order of offers that I would take, if we have offers that come in on our home and they're all basically within $3,000 of each other, let's say, and one of them is a cash sale, no contingency, no, special anything, just standard repair procedure, that's going to be the top. Underneath that then would be just a standard offer with financing, person putting 20% down. Then you start to get into the different levels of financing, and then somewhere in there too would be the contingent upon the sale of a home. I had one this week I was able to get worked out. However, it was a really interesting one. It was contingent upon the sale of a business. So it was really, really interesting and unique. But they accepted it. But in order to do that, we had to put a $10,000 earnest money down, make it non-refundable, and do our inspection within 10 days and have all that done. And so basically we have 10 days to get everything done, and hopefully their business closes on time so that they have the money. But if you do have a house that you're selling, here's what I would suggest, because here in South Carolina, and here in our market, I should put it, we have the contingency and then active with kickout, which is where some of the stuff goes in when it's contingent upon the sale of a home. However, once your house in South Carolina, so say you have a house in North Carolina and it's pending, once it's pending and it's past anything where there's no other contingencies on it other than financing and repairs, it is considered pending. here in South Carolina. So if we're active with Kickout, once your house goes under contract and there's no special contingencies other than financing or repairs, it's pending. So what I suggest to people is this: once you have your home under contract, call me, let's get together, and I try to prepare them ahead of time. When you're accepting that offer on your home, ask for a little bit longer closing time, number one, to give us time to find something here for you since inventory is so low, number one, but also to have the time to get everything prepared and get everything in order with it. If you can find someone to stay with, or like Elizabeth mentioned, get that lease back for a month or two after, that's the prime way to do it. But you want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row before you even begin to look at houses. That means have your pre-approval, have your home under contract, and then we can start looking at homes. It's pointless to look at a house right now if you're on vacation, if you're going home to put your house on the market and then start the search, because what you look at today is gone. And then when you come back, you're going to want me to find the same thing. And like you said, Elizabeth, it's going to be $25,000 more next month. And now I got to try to find that again for $400,000, where it's now $425,000.
Yep.
So let's see what else. Tree says you can do contingency. Yep, and that's what we just talked about. Debbie's congratulating him, going down to Myrtle Beach for vacation next week. Hopefully we have a blast. I'm sure you will. Myrtle Beach is fun. Take a trip to Charleston. Go down and take a carriage ride. One of my favorite things to do. How is the Bermuda Sands Hotel down there? Honestly, I don't know. I've never stayed there. I would pay cash on the sale of the house. Yeah, and that's okay. We can write them up contingent upon the sale, and it's coming from cash. What usually they're going to want to see then is either that you own your home free and clear, or if you have a mortgage, they want to see. I had this just happen. The sellers that wanted to accept our offer, which was contingent upon the sale of their home, wanted to see their contract and then wanted to see a balance of what they have left on their mortgage to make sure they had enough money left over to pay for the house they were about to buy. That's fairly new to me. I don't know. Have you run into that at all, Elizabeth?
No, I've never been asked to show that. The biggest thing that a lot of us learned early on with this whole appraisal waiver thing, and gapping the difference between, appraisal and purchase price, is not getting the proof of funds for that. So everybody wants to see proof of funds, right? So it's great that you put that in a contract, but when it boils down to closing time and there was a difference of $20,000 between appraisal and purchase price, and the buyer's like, oh, well, I needed that to put down on my loan, or whatever, they don't have the money to build the difference, then now we have a problem, because they signed a contract that says that they were going to gap the difference. So now we have breach of contract. You end up in earnest money disputes. So my advice to everybody is just make sure to get that proof of funds. Nobody is trying to get into your business. You don't have to show, if you have $5 million in your account, you're buying a $500,000 property, get your bank or your financial institution to write a letter just stating that you have that amount, the amount that you need. You don't want to show everybody all of your business, but right. Do that in advance. Get that ready, because you're going to find the property you want. Now you're trying to reach out to somebody who works Monday through Friday to try to, to do that. And in the meantime, you've just lost the property, because nobody is going to take a cash offer on your word that you have the cash. Yep.
Well, and here's the other thing I would say along with that. A screenshot of a bank account is not proof of funds.
No.
So a lot of people like to do that, but that is not proof of funds. Like you said, reach out to your bank, ask them to give you a letter. If you're thinking when you come, you're going to buy and the max you want to spend is $575 and you've got $800 in your bank account, have them write that letter stating that Elizabeth Baker has liquid assets in the amount of $575,000 to do a cash purchase.
Right.
Have that letter ready. Send it to your agent. Send it to me, or send it to Elizabeth if you're buying down there. And, let them have that, because that's one of the first documents we need to submit with your offer, because we want to show everything possible to make you look like the best buyer in the world. Now, well, we're working on getting you a pre-approval hopefully I'll have that tomorrow. Yeah, while I'm waiting for that to come in, decide if I want to take it, somebody else comes in, makes an offer, and you lose. All because you didn't do things in a quick time.
Yep.
So let's see. He says just better to sell the house first and use that to pay cash. Yep. Here's a question. Do you see the prices going up next year in your area? We're moving from Denver, Colorado, and sold our house, so we will have cash to buy. What are you seeing in your market? What do you think? You think it's going to go up next year?
Yes, it's going to continue to go up for a bit. My personal prediction, and this is just based on whatever, I'm usually right, so I'm just going to go with it. The influx, the maddening happened when people got stuck in their homes in, let's say, New York or New Jersey or whatever, because that's where I'm seeing the most people come from. And they decided, I need to get out, so the insanity. So I kept saying, when things completely lighten up, right, when all of the restrictions are completely gone, you might see things start to slow down a little bit, because that desperation to escape wherever somebody is stuck in a more closed state, that'll go away. However, we're starting to see, we're not going to get political or weird here, but we are starting to see another outbreak, right? We all know that. And even the vaccinated people are starting to get, COVID a lot. I had another vaccinated friend get it today. And so we're slowly seeing states mask up again, cities mask up again. And I think you're going to suddenly get that surge again of people who are going to be like, damn it, I'm not doing it. And that was not cursing. That's not a bad word, Jeremy. I passed the PG test. I passed. They're going to be like, I'm not getting stuck in this house again for another year. We thought we'd wait it out, and they're going to bounce. So I think that a lot of this insanity and this craziness is just based on people being cooped up and wanting something different and wanting to get it done, before something shuts down again,
Yep. Well, here's the main reasons why people move to South Carolina. And right now we have 32 people who are joining and watching us. And my guess is that 25 of them at least will say are not from South Carolina. Okay. So of those 25 that aren't, they're mostly probably from New York, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, up in the Northeast. And here's the number one things the top things they say to me when they call me and say, Jeremy, we're ready to move. Number one, I want to get the heck out of here. I'm tired of dealing with the cold and the snow. Yep. That's the number one thing. Here in South Carolina, we see snow maybe once every 5 to 6 years, and it's a dusting. My youngest is 6. She's seen it once in her life, and it was melted by lunchtime. So that's the number one thing. They're tired of dealing with the cold. After being stuck inside, number two, for COVID during the winter, all summer long, and then into winter, stuck in their house, and then the snow that they couldn't even go out in their backyard, that right there made people say, get me the heck out of here. And then the third thing is, like we talked about a little while ago, they're tired of the ridiculously high cost of living. It is so stinking expensive to live in some of those northern states. I grew up right outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And, I looked a few years back, our taxes on our house up there would probably today be about $10,000 to $12,000. It's ridiculous the amount that you're paying in that to be stuck inside and deal with snow. I don't want it. They didn't want it. And my father, he was in a real bad car accident back in the early 90s, and they told him a warmer climate is better for your health. And so that's the big reasons why everybody says, get me out of here. Let me go south. And they start to then think, you probably deal with this a lot. Well, we're thinking of either coming to Charleston or going to Florida.
Yep.
And here's what I say to anyone who's thinking about South Carolina versus Florida. Florida basically has 2 seasons, where we have 4 here. We still have summer, spring, fall, winter. So Florida has 2 seasons, hot and hotter, and that's about it. We were there. I was in Orlando, in the end of February, and it was still almost 80 degrees, I think, out. So, if you like to still have a little bit of the seasons, you're going to enjoy being here. The other thing that people say is they like being in South Carolina versus Florida because they can take that trip back home to visit family, visit friends in one day versus a 2-day drive.
Well, we call them the halfbacks. You go to Florida and then you come half back and you come to South Carolina. We get so many of those. And they say, God, we wish we would have just chosen South Carolina in the first place. And the biggest complaint I hear is from the younger retired people. And they're like, it's all retirement communities there. There's no culture and there's nothing to do and it's always humid. So they come half back. So we call them halfbacks.
Yep. To answer your question, Jesse, for here in Myrtle Beach, I don't see prices going down. I don't see them really slowing down or plateauing. I've been selling here since 2001. Got back into full-time in 2014. And I can tell you that since 2014 to here today, we have averaged 7 to 10% price increase year over year. And I would say 2021 is going to be well north of the 10% mark. And I don't see anything really slowing that down. However, in comparison, you mentioned, Elizabeth, that Charleston's so expensive. Charleston is affordable in comparison to places like Denver.
Right.
When I talk to people from Denver, they're like, my gosh, it is so ridiculous. And that's why people are coming from Denver. They're coming from California. They're coming from Arizona. It's too expensive anymore to live in those places. And so they're coming here nowadays. All right, let's see what else we got here. Debbie says, if I sell, I would need a place to rent temporarily. You can find them here. However, most of your rentals in our market are going to be a minimum of 6 to 12 months. Not a lot of places do month-to-month rent unless it is during the winter time. Then you may be able to find an oceanfront resort to stay in for maybe $700-800 for a month, but it's going to be 700 square feet that you're going to have with a bed and a coffee pot, basically all in the same room, like a hotel room. They're not going to be full bedrooms with baths and full kitchens and those types of things in them. Let's see here. Coming from Maryland, South Carolina rocks, and Jeremy too, my future realtor. Thanks, Doug. I look forward to meeting you someday, and we're going to find you a house down here. Let's see here. Go Vols, Tennessee, I guess, a fan. But we're planning to move to Del Webb, but not for 3 to 4 years. If we buy now, how do the homes rent in the 55 plus communities? Honestly, I don't know, but I would imagine it's like any other part of our area. The rental market is very strong, and it could be rented. Obviously, when you go to a 55 and over community, and this is what I always share with people when you're buying in those places, there's pros and cons to them. The big pro is everybody's 55 and up around you. So you have like-aged people for the most part. However, most of those, you only have to have one person living there who's 55 and older. So if somebody is, 63 and remarries with his third wife and she's 28 and has, 2 kids that are 5 and 6, the kids are coming with and the wife's coming with because at least one is there. But what happens as well is your market then when it comes to the resale is much smaller because you have to find somebody interested in buying into 55 and older and actually fits the age requirements as well. But, same is true, I would say, for the rental side. It can be done, just maybe not as quick and as fast as non-55. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and it reduces your pool of renters because it has to be somebody. I will say our new Del Webb at Nexton here in Charleston area is 50. 50 is the cutoff. So I'm 7 years out. And I'll tell you what, I can't stand the sound of basketballs bouncing and kids, and I have kids. So I'm sitting here like, should I go ahead and buy in now? But it's not close enough to where I want to be. It's not close to the beach or anything. It's in Somerville. But I was under the impression and told that anybody in the household had to, the minimum age had to be 50. So they're not allowed to bring in the kids and the, younger spouse and all that. But I haven't really ever checked into that. But I do know that I just took buyers out there in that same position. They have to sell in Connecticut right now. And so they can't get anything, unfortunately, until they've sold because most of the builders aren't taking the home sale contingencies right now. But yeah, they said 50. 50 is the new cutoff. So I was like, wow.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned something there a minute ago that brings up a question that I have. What have you seen When it comes to new construction, you mentioned right now builders are not taking home sale contingencies. If I come down there and I want to buy a house right now with like D.R. Horton or Lennar or Pulte or one of the national builders, can I come in, pick the floor plan I want and the colors I want and everything and do it? Or have they basically done like here in Myrtle Beach and put a freeze on all that kind of stuff and they pick what they're going to build and do it? How's it working down there?
It depends on the builder. Completely depends on the builder, the area. I've heard of some of it going that way. We were for a little bit there, but they just sent out an email last week, I think it was, and ended it. Like Del Webb, the lots were going into a lottery system. So you basically were bidding on a lot. So all of these weird changes, but then they're stopping them. I still see people doing design center and stuff, so they're still picking most of their finishes. But most of our builders here, at least in Charleston, your basic expectation is already granite countertops and some type of solid surface flooring, carpet in the bedrooms. It's not like back in the day where it was like, laminate countertops and like horrible floors or whatever. So I haven't had a lot of new construction closed in this past year. It's mostly resale that I'm selling for people, and my buyers are mostly buying resale. So I really don't know.
So here in our area, what we've seen right now, with the last year and the way building costs and materials went through the roof, to kind of give them the ability to maximize their profit, what they did starting, I want to say it was about February, March, is they said, we're not going to allow people to do any pre-sales anymore. And like one of the developments that was here right near my house, it's called the Parks of Carolina Forest. It's a great little community. And they were releasing 55 lots, and they had reservations for all 55. They went to all 55 of those people buying and said, sorry, we changed our mind. Here's your $1,000 back.
Yeah.
We're going to now build what we want to there. And hopefully it'll be similar to what you wanted. And if you want it, you can buy it. However, we're not going to tell you the price either, and you cannot reserve it or put a contract on it until it hits drywall phase. So what they're doing now is they're building the house. If the Tillman model that D.R. Horton does is one of their popular ones, if they've seen right now people really like it, they're going to, on that street of 10, put 3 Tillmans. And well, gray seems to be a little more popular than brown, so we'll build 2 of them with gray, 1 with brown. And when they're released, they're going to release it on a Monday. They're going to accept offers till Wednesday, and then Wednesday night into Thursday, they will decide which of the ones they want to take and notify that person to say, congratulations, you won. And the other people that are basically told, too bad, so sad, you missed out. Now, if you can get a house that gets past that point, then they will just take an offer when it comes in. But here's what's happening now. D.R. Horton probably has 150 agents at all the different communities here throughout Horry and Georgetown County. Those agents every month, every week, are sending out emails to all of us general brokerage agents, as well as to who knows who else, stating, these are the homes getting released on Monday. If you have somebody who wants it, come get it now. And so I doubt very few are actually making it past then. And customization, don't even think about it. It's not happening right now for sure. So let's see what else we got going on here. How do I go about using you as a realtor? And do you cover areas of the Myrtle Beach and surrounding areas? I do. I cover from the North Carolina border down to basically Pawleys Island and into Georgetown. And then Elizabeth, how far north do you come?
So I do the Tri-County area, Dorchester, Berkeley, and Charleston County. So like just for someone who kind of knows the beaches, that's, Isle of Palms, Folly Beach, Edisto, and everything and anything in between. I do a lot of Somerville, and again, that's I'm on Folly Beach, so that sounds a little odd, but being a veteran, I have a lot of veteran clients who feel comfortable working with a fellow veteran, and a lot of them buy closer to the base, so that they end up in Somerville, all over the place. We have a pretty big MLS. I don't know, in comparison to yours, Jeremy, I don't know size-wise if mine is larger or not, our Tri-County area.
Our MLS has about 4,500, I would say, members of it right now.
We have over 7,000 last I checked.
Yeah, so you're a little bit larger probably.
But I don't know that my coverage area. I just think we might have more agents in the area, but my coverage area might not be as big as yours. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. I mean, people ask me all the time. Technically, I could help you, Jesse, buy a house anywhere in South Carolina. But here's the reality. And Elizabeth will tell you the same thing. If you contacted her first and said, hey, I want to buy in Myrtle Beach, she's picking up the phone and calling me and saying, hey, Jeremy, I just talked to this lady, Jessie. She wants to buy in Myrtle Beach. Can you help her out? Because she doesn't know my market, just like I don't know hers. I don't know the Columbia market or the Greenville market. One of the beautiful parts of being part of a national brand like Remax is that I have connections. Elizabeth has connections all across the country that we're going to get you hooked up with top producing agents like ourselves to help you there. But if you wanted to buy here in Myrtle Beach, shoot me an email. My email is real easy. It's info@jeremyblanton.com. And just, we can get things started from there. I'll put it in the comments here in a little bit where to get me, the easiest way to get me. And, if you want to go towards Charleston, Elizabeth has ways to reach out to her as well. Her website, what is it? The Charleston Real Estate Agent, I believe?
The CharlestonAgent.com.
The CharlestonAgent.com, that's right.
It's
or
easier just social media, type Elizabeth Baker, you'll find me.
Yep, or find either of us on Facebook or Instagram or those things. But I'll be honest, I don't check my messengers in Instagram or Facebook near as much as I do text messages or my email. I had a gentleman today reach out through Insta. I hardly use Instagram, people. I just don't. I don't have time for it. And I just happened to be have it open at the time when he sent it, so I saw it. But I've had in the past people send me stuff there and it sits. Or you can call me. My number is 843-222-9402. And Elizabeth, what's your phone number?
843-781-0555.
Yeah. So reach out to one of us and we can help you in those different areas. We'd be more than happy to help you. Let's see. What else do we got here? My wife likes your earrings.
Thank you. You skipped one, Jeremy. You're not going to address the one where they asked if the girl's the same as the thumbnail?
Thumbnail? Yes, it's the same one. She's wearing sunglasses. Take your sunglasses off so they can see you a minute.
Oh, God. So I have a super light sensitivity. So I'm outside, so it's bad. So sorry.
Yep.
Come on, incognito.
It's the same person, I promise you. Trust me, there's only one of her. We couldn't take more than one, that's for sure. Let's see, what else we got here. Question. With Myrtle Beach's increasing population, what major infrastructure improvements are occurring or being planned? Roads, flood mitigation, etc. So here in our area, first let's talk about roads. There is tons of roads being added and expanded and widened on a regular basis. There have been several taxes over the last few years that were put on, penny taxes on things that the tourists who come to town. Myrtle Beach is a huge tourist market. Charleston's pretty much the same way. But here in Myrtle Beach, what they did is they added a penny tax onto things. So when you go to a restaurant, there's an extra penny tax that's on your bill. And they're collecting all of that tax to help fund all our roads versus having to put the bill on those who live here year round. We have millions of people who vacation here every year. Why not have them help take care of it? Now, one of the things they recently did, and I actually did a video on this about 2.5 weeks ago, is on new construction, there is a new impact fee. I don't know if you guys have impact fees down there, Elizabeth, but what this impact fee is that on new construction builds, there is a $1,236 tax that is an additional fee being put on when you go to get the permits for the home that is going to be used to help with flooding in the area, emergency personnel, and all that kind of stuff, and help fund it. I kind of look at that impact fee as kind of like an investment, because if we're able to build more fire stations and have one closer to my house, it's going to help me in the long run with my insurance, and if there is an emergency, getting somebody to the house quick. Do you guys have impact fees down there?
No, it's no. I never heard that discussed, at least until I was at the meeting in Myrtle Beach. A week ago?
Yeah, and this is all brand new coming to Myrtle Beach. It goes into effect, I believe it's like October 15th. So if somebody is out there listening who's planning to build and haven't pulled your permits yet, get those permits pulled by October 15th and save the $1,200. Merritt says, "What's up?" What's up, Merritt? Jesse says, "Awesome. Thank you both so much." Former Marine, what branch did Elizabeth serve in? And thanks for your service.
The only branch, United States Marine Corps, baby. Semper Fi.
There you go, Doug. And first, yes, I am a Tennessee grad. Question for both of you. Do you have a large Asian grocery? Thank you for informative show coming down in September. Do you have an Asian grocery store down there somewhere?
You know where I'm from in St. Louis. I could tell you where they all were. I don't think so. Nothing that I have seen. I'm sure there could be something, and I would guess something like that would be in North Charleston here. I have not seen anything near me. Definitely not, Folly Beach, James Island. I don't think there's anything downtown. I'm just trying to rack my brain. Not really, no. I don't think so.
Well, according to help answer your question for you, according to the Google says that there's H&L Asian Market in the Liberty Mall Shopping Center in North Charleston. Charleston have a few of them. In Myrtle Beach, we do have an Asian market that is downtown. I've gone there many times to get certain spices and things for recipes I was making. But it appears to be a few down in the North Charleston area for you as well. So you can go shopping. Because I know you like to do a lot of cooking, right?
Who, me?
You, yeah, you.
Not so much. Somewhat. I have kids. I have to cook something, right?
And not just the phone to go?
I had my one meal of the day today because I was working since I got up at 6. So, I just ate right before we got on this call.
Nice. Tammy has a question. How does buying a HUD home work? How does buying a HUD home work down there?
I've never dealt with it. So I think that people kind of, when they're asking that, they're thinking of back in the, 2008, 2007 market. Anything that is foreclosure or anything like that, from what I've seen, is that is gone and snatched up before it ever comes to the public eye by the cash buyers through the courts. It doesn't hit the MLS or anything, from what I've seen, from my experience.
Yeah, I had one. Here's what I'll say, Tammy. Buckle up, tighten your shoelaces, and get ready to run. Because if you want to try to get one of those, be prepared. I tried to help 2 different people buy one. The first one was back, I want to say early 2019. And we went in and put an offer on it. The property had 78 offers on it. 78. It sold for almost double what the asking price was. The next one that we went to, that was a HUD home, was back in 2019 then. No, I'm sorry. That would have been, December of 2019. That one I went to, the people who owned the home went through the house and they were just very angry. And so they tore out anything and everything of value in the home. And when I mean anything and everything, I mean they ripped every piece of drywall out so that they could pull out the copper wiring to sell the copper for scrap and make a couple bucks. They ripped every piece of plumbing out. They ripped out the HVAC, the water heater, all appliances, all cabinets, every light fixture. Everything was destroyed in the house. That house had 36 offers on it and sold for $30,000 over what the asking price was. So you can, if you can find one, be ready to go. Number one, you're going to have to be a cash buyer on it, and you're going to have to be ready to bid and war and fight. And then after you're done, be prepared to spend a lot of money and a lot of time buying after it. And in both of those cases, they were buying them as is, where is, however it was. You could not ask for any type of repairs or anything of the sort. You took it the way it was. Kind of like how they say in golf, play the ball where it lies. Kind of the same thing with the house. So, all right, I think we caught up on questions. Wow, that was a lot there going. So, all right, guys, well, we've got 39 people on. If you guys have other questions that you want to ask Elizabeth and I, anything to do with Charleston or Myrtle Beach or South Carolina, moving to the area, selling here, where's a good place to go eat, whatever it may be, ask those questions now. And while they are typing those out, Elizabeth, why don't you take a minute and kind of tell everybody how can they get a hold of you if they want to learn more about Charleston and moving to that market?
So unlike Jeremy, I do answer my my Facebook Messenger, but I'm like him. I'll post on Instagram. I'm newer to it, but I don't answer my Instagram messages at all. So message me on Facebook, Elizabeth Baker Charleston. You'll find my business page or my personal. That's your easiest way. Or call or text me 843-781-0555. My email, elizabeth.baker@remax.net. There's all kinds of ways to find me. Or you can watch, if you're local and you happen to see this, my wrap trucks go by with the half Marine and half civilian all over them, and I'm not really hard to spot.
Yeah, here's her Facebook page, guys, so you can kind of see. If you see this image on the truck, that's her.
That's me.
And is there a picture on here? Let me see if I can find a picture of your truck so they can kind of see. Here's a moving truck.
That's one of them, yeah. The Marine on your list would like that. So that's the full body, half dress blues and half civilian attire.
There you go, yeah. So, guys, she knows Charleston better than I ever could. She's awesome there. Let's see, some questions coming in here. Let's see, what's this one? Oh, my wife asked a question. So, question for both Elizabeth and Jeremy. What would your dream area neighborhood be to buy in each of your respective markets? Elizabeth, you're going shopping today. Where are you going to buy a house?
Well, here in Charleston, I am already living the dream. I'm on Folly Beach, and that was just a long-term goal that I never thought I would see happen. But again, home ownership, back to where you started this whole conversation, right? Home ownership is what allowed me to even make it to Charleston. My last house in St. Louis, I sold it 2 years after I bought it, didn't do a thing to it, made $65,000, which was a lot of money to me at the time. And that afforded me the ability to get here. And it kind of did that house after house and then built myself up in real estate. And now I live with ocean views and I love it. If I would trade it for anything, I would love to have something in historic downtown Charleston where I'm overlooking the Charleston Battery and watching the horse and carriage, rides go by and all of the tourists, stopping to read the history and just so many amazing restaurants in walking distance. But I have that right here on Folly too. I don't know if you guys can hear in the background, but there's the music coming from two different restaurants that are kind of coming around the building where I'm staying right now. And it's a dream to me to have walkability.
So if we bought that house down on the Battery,
yeah,
for fun, what kind of budget are we going to need to purchase this dream home down there?
Probably minimum $4 million, probably more realistically $6 million for one that doesn't need a lot of work. And we have these review boards and stuff downtown. If you can't just do what you want, the paint colors, it's not an HOA, but of course, the paint colors have to be approved. I mean, it's a historic city, so they want to keep with the history. Granted, they do build some new things, but they have to go before the review board for everything. They want it to fit in, no skyscrapers or anything like that. That would be definitely over a $4 million budget for what I'm talking about, for sure.
Yeah, I remember being down there, and I think it was like a grocery store or something was being built, and it was like they had to follow all of these standards and stuff, and like even just like the signage down there in downtown has to be specific with it all. For me here in our area, it's kind of a tough question because I don't know. I love Carolina Forest. I love being centrally located to everything on the beach. Would I want to live over on the beach here? I don't know that I necessarily would. Just being in the middle of all the tourism and chaos of the area constantly. We lived at one point right over in the city limits of Myrtle Beach, a block away from the ocean, and it was nice. But it also was exhausting because every night at 2 a.m. we'd hear the ambulances flying by, and the loud cars and the noise and all that stuff of people on vacation having a good time. And I can't blame them. When I'm on vacation, I want to have a fun time. I want to, be able to enjoy it and have a good time with it. But, would I want to live in that? Probably not. Instead, I would probably take a house. Black Creek Plantation is probably one of the neighborhoods I would take in Carolina Forest, where you're going to find homes on 1 to 3 acre lots. They're wooded, they're private, it's very quiet, it's gated, and there's some gorgeous homes in there. Or something probably over in one of the waterway communities as well. They're all gated. Those would probably be my tops. Or even Waterbridge, which is another gated community in Carolina Forest, but probably one of those. But Catherine, we're not moving anytime soon. Don't get any ideas here. Let's see here. Pincy Okay, that is just like the coolest name. Pincy loves bacon. I love bacon too. Do you love bacon, Elizabeth?
Of course.
Who doesn't love? She says, hey, hey, hey. And then NT Expert says, haven't been to Charleston in years, but the Middleton Place restaurant was the bomb. Never been to that one. Have you been there?
No.
Add it to your list of checking out, I guess.
I guess so.
Awesome. Well, guys, we've been going now for a little over an hour, almost an hour and a half. We're coming up. Some more questions coming in. If you have more questions, get them in because we're probably going to stop it here in the next 4 or 5 minutes, unless we have just an influx of 10 questions come through and it takes us longer to answer them. But let's see here what we got. But if not, we're going to end it soon. Is that okay with you, Elizabeth?
Sure thing.
All right. So Tammy says, question for Jeremy. I've seen a few homes for sale recently in the area of Long Avenue Extended. Is that area prone to flooding? What areas should be avoided due to flooding? Need to move from Maryland. Good question. And actually what I'm going to do, Tammy, to answer this is we're going to go over here to Facebook or to the screen share again, and let's bring up the map here a minute. But here's the thing with our area. A lot of people think when you're looking at a map of Myrtle Beach and here along the coast that when we have flooding, that it happens here along the beach. Back during Hurricane Florence and Matthew, when we had horrible flooding, the flooding actually took place inland here in Conway and in this market here, and then also down in Socastee here along the waterway. Up in Carolina Forest, the waterway was perfectly fine because it's 15, 25 feet above elevation. My office, which is in Carolina Forest, sits 30 feet above elevation. So we're not going to have to worry really about flooding happening here. But as you get down into Socastee in these areas, it's a little bit lower, and there definitely was along the waterway some bad flooding. There was some bad flooding that took place up here in the Longs area as well, and then out in Conway as well. The Long Avenue extension, I'm trying to remember exactly where that is, but if memory serves correctly, I believe it's down here in Myrtle Beach near the state park. If that's the place I'm thinking of, they did not have really any bad flooding in the area during that time. But one of the things that I would definitely recommend when you're thinking about buying anywhere is, having an agent who knows our market and can do the research to see is a must. And don't just call the listing agent because they represent the seller. They're not working on your behalf. So hopefully that answers your question some. Let's see here. Ashley says, hello, Jeremy. Hello, Ashley. Chance then wants me to do a Jeremy and Jeremy Pincus. I know who you mean, but he's not Jeremy. I'm the only Jeremy on YouTube that's in Myrtle Beach. But interesting. Maybe one day we will. We'll see. Pinky wants to know tips for hurricane season. Take it away, Elizabeth. What are your tips for hurricane season?
I mean, you just have to plan accordingly. I just installed Bahama shutters at my house, and it was a worthwhile investment. It wasn't actually as expensive as I thought, so that all I have to do is go around pull them in, protects the windows. You obviously have to get everything out of your yard. You need to prepare with extra water and food. And if you can afford one, a generator is a must. I haven't gotten one installed yet, and I keep saying I'm going to do it, and I hope that I don't regret not just getting it done. You have to fuel up. Fuel, as we know.
Do you need me to make the generator call for you?
Yeah. But fuel is, I think, a huge one. Fuel, don't wait until those lines are crazy. And probably toilet paper, because between the COVID resurge and just in general the insanity.
Yeah.
Go ahead and start stocking up on toilet paper now.
The other thing that I would say is this: if you're thinking about purchasing, we're in hurricane season right now. If you have a house under contract, you need to be calling tomorrow your insurance agency to get your insurance in place, because all it takes is a named storm. If we take the map, and I pull back the map up here a minute, all it takes is for a named storm to be out here. It could be way out here, and they will shut down all types. Oops, I can't see because I'm covering with the question. Let me move it. All it takes is for a named storm to come out here in the middle of the Atlantic, and they will shut down any and all types of insurance writing. So you want to make sure you have that in place. You want to make sure that you have your, flashlights charged up, new batteries nearby, phones charged up. You want to make sure that you have, a battery backup for your phone, so that if power goes out, sometimes when power goes out, it's out for days. And so you need to either have the ability. I remember one time we were out for like 4 days. I'd have to go out to my car and plug my phone in for an hour just to charge it, because I didn't have any other way to do it. So you want to do that. Here in our area, when it comes to hurricanes, they kind of do mandatory evacuations based on zones and areas. The area that's first going to always be evacuated is here along the beach, up to 17 business. Very rarely will they go past that into up to 17 bypass. And I don't know in the 20 plus years that of living here that it has ever gone across the waterway with mandatory evacuations. However, that doesn't mean you have to stay. But like you said, Elizabeth, you want to make sure you pick up everything in your yard. If you have a grill and lawn chairs in that, what I end up doing a lot of times is I take the straps that they use like on a back of an 18-wheeler. I have some of those cable straps, and I take my grill, my lawn chairs and everything, and I will strap them down and secure them tight to one of the posts on my back porch. Anything else, bird feeders, all hanging baskets, all that stuff gets sat down or put away in the garage. We as real estate agents, we love when hurricanes come, because luckily right now it's not that bad. But a few years back, when the market was slower and we had lots of listings sitting out there inventory, we'd spend a day and a half driving around to collect all our yard signs. And please, people, if you own a trampoline, do us all a favor. Take it down before it's in your neighbor's yard. They will thank you for it. Yes, and my wife says, and have an exit plan in place. I don't know if you've ever evacuated for storms. We only did once. We went to Georgia and stayed with my family there. And the fun part was getting back to the beach after it was all over. You sometimes have no problem when you're in town, but it's the roads getting back to town that are the ones that are messed up. So that would be my suggestions on hurricane season as well. So, Elizabeth, we're at 90 minutes. Do you have any final remarks or statements you wanted to say to everyone?
No, just thanks for having me. And I know Jeremy mentioned that we are national, but we're also international. And I was walking right down the street the other day and ran into a friend who's like, yeah, I'm trying to get a property in Nicaragua. And I'm like, I got a girl for you. And I know her personally because Jeremy and I find the value in connecting with our colleagues so that we do understand a little bit more about where they are, their markets, and develop that relationship. So when we do have friends who want to buy a little property in Mexico or Nicaragua or Costa Rica or Hawaii, we're like, yep, we know somebody, and we do. And we can look up their sales and their stats and make sure you're going to be well taken care of instead of just some rando that you Google online. So you can trust Jeremy to give you the right referral person. You can trust me to give you the right person. Even if you're not looking in our markets, you're looking somewhere else in another coast completely different from South Carolina.
Definite. And, you know, guys, as I say all the time, if you want information on real estate, I'd love to help you with it. Elizabeth would too. But even if you just want to know where's a good place to grab a burger, feel free to shoot me an email. Elizabeth, I'm sure if they want to reach out to you to get that kind of info, you wouldn't mind helping them as well.
For sure.
So, guys, feel free to reach out to her. If you enjoyed tonight's show, do me all a favor. Can we just show some love to Elizabeth? Leave her a comment. Say, thanks for joining in. Great show. Awesome information. Give her some thumbs up, some claps, whatever you want to do with that, because she needs that. And, oh, look, we're already getting them. Goval said thank you. Ashley says, I love Myrtle Beach. My wife says, thanks for a great show. Ashley just said she was just here from Pittsburgh. You know, actually, I'm getting a lot of people lately coming from Pittsburgh. Everybody.
Check this out. Wait, hold on with that. Hold on. Ready? Can you guys see it? Can you see the mat? So that's not me. So I sold this condo to some of my clients, and they're in Pittsburgh for the summer because they don't like the crazy, like you said, of the tourist season. And so they're back in the mountains at home and on a lake just in peace. And they're going to come back in September, which is when my house goes off vacation rental and I move back into it. So I'm in like Steelers country here in this house. It's the mugs, the rugs, the signs. It's everywhere.
Ashley says, great show. She would like more information. Ashley, that I'm putting on my screen is kind of a final one. And guys, if you have questions about Charleston, feel free to reach out to me as well, and I'll get your information over to Elizabeth. But there's my email address. It's info@jeremyblanton.com. I will gladly get you directed to her or would love to help you with making the move here to Myrtle Beach. Thanks, everyone, for joining in tonight. And with that, I'm going to end the broadcast. Peace out, Home Scout.
Bye.